Hello, everyone. Today we have I called it This Is Something because it is I don't know. I don't even know how to classify this deck. It's like a hybrid of a lot of different things. And the reason that it is going to do well right now is because we have gotten to a point in the metagame where we're running a lot less Shang-Chi. We're also running a lot of really strong, really greedy on reveal abilities. And so with that, having the Cosmo just naturally in our deck is so incredibly valuable. And then we have the Rogue to deal with, Luke Cage to deal with, like an Iron Man, or some strong ongoing abilities that can win you the game by herself in certain scenarios. Other times we're going to be leaning into like a Sentry and a Viper play to send them the negative hood. Most of the time we're either going to zero out or play Sentry behind that Cosmo lane to make sure that it doesn't trigger. But if we can't make that happen, we have the Viper as a backup play line. We have the Black Bolt Stature package in this deck. Even though they did get tuned a little bit, they're still incredibly impactful when you have that tandem or that duo in your hand. And so sometimes we're going to do a Black Bolt. Sometimes we're going to be leaning more on like a Zero and a Sentry, Zero and a Attuma on turn 5 into a turn 6 like Demon plus Gamora to pump a surprising amount of power. And we can hide our bigger cards and protect them behind an armor and a Cosmo lane. We just don't have the Shuri telegraphing our plays. And so overall, I've had a surprising amount of success with this list. I was brewing for several hours today, checking out a couple of Kitty Pryde decks, checking out a Mr. Negative deck, a Stature deck, a Collector deck, an Invisible one brew that I was working on. All of those were staying close to 0 net cubes, but for the most part, they were not gaining very quickly. And then I jumped into this one and I'm gaining an average of 1 cube per game because I'm able to steal and just lock down opponents from their own reveal abilities, pump a lot of power every single turn of the game, kind of like a good cards list, except for instead of good cards list, you're just slamming power on the board. And you have your protection tools in your armor, your Cosmo, and realistically, we're not seeing as much Shang-Chi in the meta. And so a lot of times you can just get away with floating your big cards onto the board and then maybe protecting them later, maybe just investing into other lanes later on. So we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you guys enjoy it. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. All right. First up, we have Matt, and we've been facing an awful lot of Galactus for some reason. I'm thinking the featured location, Dark Dimension, may have dropped it back up. I don't know. But I've seen more Galactus tonight than I have in the last like 2 weeks. And I didn't miss it. I'm ready for it to go away again. So it looks like they're running a bounce deck. We don't know if it's the more hybrid version that angles to do good against just about any deck, or if it's the one that goes all in on bounce and has both Falcon and Beast. Make sure that you can always pull your cards back in and just really lean in on that fact. So I went ahead and played Maximus because I assumed they're going to play something like Kitty Pryde. Maybe they even bounce these back in, and then our Maximus wouldn't give them any benefit if that's the case. Now, I did use Viper, so doing Sentry is not necessarily what we want to do here unless we can cap out that right location, which I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to this turn. Right now, unless we get a Cosmo, we're going to fight for the left and maybe the middle lane. But Sentry in the right lane is really, really tough to navigate. We also have Black Bolt somewhere in our deck. Ooh, Subterranea. So now we have a lot of junk to sift through. They have the Bishop. And their Kitty Pryde was able to get drawn back in. Ugh, fortunately. All right, so let's go with the Zero. We're going to be able to do the Sentry now, courtesy of Mr. Matt. You know what? We're gonna go into the left lane. We're gonna do the Zero in the left lane. We're gonna do Sentry in mid, and then we'll be fighting for the right lane. Probably just gonna be dropping like an Attuma, a Gamora, a Stature. Probably not Rogue, but maybe Rogue and Cosmo. All right, so they play one card. Is it the, it's the Iron Man, right? Oh, we should have left a space open with, okay, no, it's Sarah. Okay, that's better. That is definitely better.
All systems go.
And they have a lot of cards to use. They're going to be leaning in on a Hit Monkey. They could probably swing this lane. Rock. That's rough. Now, the only good thing is they only have one space to play here, so they would have to make it count. They might be able to. They might be able to get a hit monkey big enough to make this one count. The bishop continues to grow. They could even do like an Iron Man plus a little something here, and they'd have a shot. But I am willing to risk it for the additional 1 cube, especially since we have a pretty sizable lead in the start tower. For them to overcome it, they're going to have to invest quite a bit of their energy over there. They do stay. They play a lot of cards in the right lane. They play their hit monkey over there. Okay. Mysterio, as long as this is not Iron Man, we have a shot in this left lane. No Kitty Pryde. Okay. Did they do their math wrong? Interesting. They definitely did their math wrong. That was really, really close. But fortunately, we were able to hold down the 2 cube win. We will go ahead and take it. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Shell, and the first location is Pet Mansion, so if we played a card, it would have to go there. We don't have anything to play early on, though. I mean, we have Hood somewhere in our deck. We have 0 now. I don't think we want to drop 0 this turn, because we might end up drawing Cosmo, the Hood, Armor, Viper. We wouldn't want to 0 out any of those. So I'm going to save it. We're going to skip on turn 2. They play a Maria Hill, so they generate a 1-cost card. That's very common of a Dino Hawk style deck that wants to keep your hand full. It's also in sneaking its way into a couple of unique collector builds I've seen. Now, the collector builds don't seem to be able to have as much reach as I think you would typically need. But it is something that's out there. They have the Bast. Okay, so this is some form of, I guess, low curt. Oh no, the Bast came from Maria Hill. That turns into Onslaught Citadel. This card is going to be zeroed out. Let's 0 out the Attuma. Part of me wants to play the Sentry next turn, but I think what we're going to do is do Attuma. We can do a Black Bolt in one of these lanes, depending on where they play. We can do a Black Bolt on turn 5. On turn 6, we can play where we need to play. So they do Invisible Woman in the Pet Mansion location. We could steal that. If we were really concerned with what was behind there, we could use Rogue to steal it. I don't think we are. Unless we could use Sentry and Viper in tandem, I don't think it's worth it to try to float. I don't think the risk is worth the reward. So instead, we're going to get rid of their lowest cost card with our Black Bolt. And then we're just going to kind of wing it on this last turn. The last turn could end up being a Hood, a Viper, and a Maximus. It could end up being a Rogue and a Maximus, maybe a Cosmo and a Maximus, depending on what kind of deck we put them on. Now, ooh, this is a Cerebro 3. Why would you want Maria Hill in Cerebro 3? I mean, the Bast came in clutch. I'm not downing it at all. The Bast came in clutch for the deck. Still kind of odd. All right, so now we do get the option to do the Sentry and the Viper, but it is a little bit too little too late, I think. So otherwise, what could we do? I mean, it's I don't know if it's the best play we could do, but it's definitely one of the most fun plays we could do. I don't know. This is going to allow them to draw, but I do want to try this one. This one's going to be fun. The plan is, I realized I didn't tell you guys what the plan was. The plan is to use Viper to send them a Maximus so that it breaks their Cerebro bonus. That is the the main idea we have here. So we do the Viper. That makes this lane a little bit tougher to win, especially if they have, Mystique or anything here. Then we could do something like Stature, Sentry. It's not terrible. Stature, Sentry is going to be a lot of power here, a lot of power here. Breaks this bonus, which is beautiful. We just have to worry about a Valkyrie play though. The Valkyrie behind the Invisible Woman is what is scary to me. So this would be 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I don't know. I went back. I went back on what I was originally planning with the Viper for the Maximus, and so we're gonna. Oh no, we still should have done it. We're gonna rogue one of their Mystique bonuses. I have to anticipate that the card in the left lane is probably Valkyrie, is what I would imagine. We're gonna take one of the Cerebros, but that doesn't help us all that much. Can we overcome it? It's going to be close. I don't... Oh, no. Wait. We send them Attuma. But their Valkyrie goes off, right? No, they're Juggernaut. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. It wasn't a Valkyrie play. It was the Juggernaut that they were leaning in on behind the Invisible Woman. I was thinking it was Valkyrie, and I almost messed up by changing my play order around. But we did it. We held it down. We got the 4 cubes. What a wild, strange, crazy game. We will take the 4 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. All right. Next up, we have this guy. The first location is Washington, D.C. We have our armor. We have Attuma, so we can protect the Attuma. We can play it into Death's Domain. Maybe we... Do we ever hold the armor and kind of drop it as the last turn? Nah, we're not going to do that. We're going to put the armor into mid. We don't know what kind of deck they're running, so I'm just going to go ahead and play for it. We're both going to be able to fight for Death's Domain now. They have an Iceman, okay. So it could be bounce. It could just be like a discard deck that runs Iceman. There's a few things that it could still be. There's a lot of things it could be. Now we have the Maximus. We don't necessarily want to let them draw cards, but we're going to. I'm going to play the Maximus to the left. They're going to get the full draw out of it. Just so unfortunate. So Attuma's going to go mid. They're going to have a Hulk at some point that's going to be like 20-something power. So far, though, they haven't skipped or floated any energy. And so they haven't buffed up a Hulk yet. And then the Thor plays on curve this turn as well. So they're definitely not floating much. We're okay with. All right, so I'm going to do the Cosmo in the right lane. I think they probably do like a Lockjaw. If they have a Lockjaw, I think they would play it into the Oscorp Tower along with like a Wasp, along with the Mjolnir. We're going to try to make sure that they can't really get that benefit. So the Lady Jane Foster comes down, and it's not going to pull out their Mjolnir for them. And so we're really close to the lead in this lane. We have the lead right currently in this lane. We do get the retreat. I was trying to figure out where we needed to play because we couldn't play for the right lane. We would have to play the 0 and the Sentry. I guess we could play the 0 and the Stature. That could have been the way that we did it. I don't think we deserved that win, but we will take it. With the Cosmo play, they also didn't get a great draw with a Lockjaw. We will take a high evolutionary win where we can. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Monkberry. And we actually faced Monkberry earlier. I was brewing different decks and I was trying out this deck. And we actually faced Monkberry one time. And I don't remember what they were running. I just remember facing up against the Hawkeye avatar. And so Tinker's Workshop comes down. We get 1 extra energy this turn. The reason I didn't play Hood over here into a Viper over here is I don't know that I want to do that. I kind of want to play Sentry on 4 over here. That allows us to Viper plus some other stuff on 5. And I think we send them that junk in this right lane and make it really difficult. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to play the Sentry. We're going to play this out naturally. I'm not going to try anything cheeky because that can backfire. The Sentry play, unless it just sets itself up optimally, can backfire. We had initiative here. That Brood play would have been unfortunate for them. But instead, it's unfortunate for us. All right, let's do the Viper. We're going to need... I don't really want to do the Demon just yet. We're going to hold the Demon. A Silver Surfer deck has become a little bit more common in the last couple of days. Ooh. This is not the deck that I thought it was. I thought this was a Silver Surfer deck. Instead, it's Patriot deck with Kitty Pryde. I don't know what kind of deck this is. I could have went ahead and played Demon. We didn't, but we could have. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the Sentry. I think that will allow us to draw the extra cards. They just played Kitty Pryde here. We're going to be able to do maybe Black Bolt. No, we're not going to draw. Okay. We don't get to do Black Bolt. But what we can do is use our can-do attitude. We can do 0. We can do Attuma. On the last turn, we can do something like Gamora plus Demon. I think that gives us quite a bit of flexibility. They do cap out this left lane. I'm curious what they play there. I was thinking, ooh, an Iron Man is interesting. I'm so confused at what they're running. Misty Knight. But the Misty Knight doesn't have the ability, so it is a Patriot deck. Oh, I guess everything they've played just is supportive of that. All right, so we can't win this lane. This lane's gone if they buff it up with the Patriot. A Blue Marvel? That's also not a lot of power, though, is the problem on their end. So we're going to stack all the way into the right lane. I think that is enough for us. They're going to have to do some kind of buff over here. And so to do that, I think they do their Patriot. And so I think this lane is a win. I think we can overcome this right lane as well. And so they do stack in the right lane. They stack a Patriot, a Mystique, and a Wasp. Oh no, okay, Blue Marvel. And they're the Kitty Pryde. And then Wasp. Ooh, it was incredibly close. It was a lot closer than I anticipated it for it to be. But the Gamora plus the Demon comes in so handy so often. That was one of my favorite combos on the junk deck that I used to run, was being able to do that on the last turn and have that just 18 power. It's a little versatile that you can throw on the last play. We will go ahead and take the 2 cubes. Let's jump over into one more. All right, next up we have J Memes. And I have to say that I am so appreciative of Second Dinner, because before, you wouldn't be in a queue for longer than like 5 seconds before getting matched with a person or a bot. And this season, I've seen a just huge decrease in the number of bots that I'm facing. But I have seen an increase in queue times, which I'm perfectly fine with waiting 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, if that means I'm facing humans versus playing computer opponents that are just not quite as fun to play against. So they went ahead and snapped on us. I'm not sure what they're snapping about. But we're going to go ahead and stick this one out. Right now, we don't have anything in the hood lane. So maybe they think we're running a destruction deck. But this is more so, it's not a junk deck. It's not a clog deck. It's just a something. It's a deck. It's a deck, all right. We're going to go ahead and play the Maximus. It's in nowhere, so it won't trigger, it won't reveal. We don't have to worry about them getting extra cards. They drop in an Invisible Woman on us. Interesting. It is one of those cards that she is becoming more and more common, and she just creates so much air of mystery. You just don't know. You don't know what's behind the Invisible Woman whenever she comes down. And so it's always a little bit hard to pinpoint exactly what the opponent's intentions are. So we're going to go ahead and do the Viper. That will push the hood over. I'm going to go ahead and do 0 as well. We'll still have 2 spots. We're going to push the hood over. Next turn, we can play an abilityless Attuma. We can then play the abilityless Attuma somewhere else. And that's the general idea. They're the idea right now. We could have done the Black Bolt, but I don't feel like we need to do Black Bolt. We have the 0 come down. We also copy the Viper, so if we need to play that one again, we can. So now we do have armor. Let's go ahead and do... And then I'm going to do a 0. Actually, I don't care if it triggers. We're going to do 0 into the nowhere. We're going to stop their Nebula from scaling too much. And so we don't know what's behind the Invisible Woman. It's just one of those things. We're going to have to stick it out and see, but we have no idea what they're planning. It could be a MODOK and a Hela, which is it's a little bit scary. It is what it is. Dude, maybe this? I don't know. There's 2 lanes that are basically Dark Dimension. We have no idea what cards are up their sleeve. We're going to send it and hope for the best. We could always rogue one of the Invisible Women if we think that maybe they play Hela somewhere, but more than likely, if it's a MODOK Hela, it's already out on the board. The only good thing that we have is that they have quite a bit of space already taken up. So they do play quite a few cards here. I'm wondering if this is like a bounce deck and they just didn't have their bounce components. Okay, so the players pulls our 0 over. That's fine. We didn't need it in the left lane. The armor protects our demon in the left lane. We're protected in mid. Attuma comes down. Their own Attuma comes down, but behind the Invisible Woman is a lot of power. And so it's actually going to swing in nobody's favor. That is an exact tie. Had Polaris not pulled, oh my gosh, had Polaris not pulled our 0 out of this lane, or had it pulled our armor out of this lane, had it pulled our demon, we would have lost. And so we got very, very fortunate that Polaris pulled the 3-powered 0 out of this lane. The Attuma behind the Invisible Woman is something that is just so satisfying when you can pull it off, because it's so hard to anticipate that 10 extra power from a 4 cost, or that plus a 1 cost on turn 5. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly how much power they have and calculate like what their idea play is. And the Titania was actually also something really cool about this Invisible Woman interaction, because then they can guarantee, as long as it's the last card that they slot into the Invisible Woman lane, they can guarantee that it stays on their side, which I think is really, really unique and allows you to a little bit more easily place your Titania on the last turn, whether you have initiative or not. All right, next up we have Flag This Ship. The first location being Shadowland is not terrible. That gives us an immediate use for our Viper. We don't have to wait for a Sentry. We don't have to wait for a Hood. And we can always zero out our Sentry if it comes down to that. Nova Roma allows us to draw an additional card. We get our Maximus. So let's go ahead and do the Viper. And then we'll see. We'll see what kind of deck it looks like or seems like they're running. Maybe we need to protect that left lane with an armor. Maybe we can get away with just doing it as is. Okay, so the Nebula comes down. Interesting. They're not going to be running a Killmonger, but we did take up the last of their space here. All right, we're going to armor the left lane to stop Nebula from scaling. I'm also going to play 0 into the Muir Island location. I want our cards to start scaling up. And if we get anything that is too big, we have the Cosmo to make sure that they can't use Shang-Chi. The Jeff is pretty interesting. It's going to get buffed up and then eventually move its way over. So that's not a bad one. We could do Maximus Hood. That gives us a Black Bolt on the last turn, and a Attuma plus a Demon plus maybe a Stature on turn 6 is what we're looking at running now. And so I have to anticipate them moving their Jeff out. Okay, so the Korg into the wave is wild. What? Turn 5 wave? What are you doing? There's no... You do a sand? There's no way you have a Sandman in there. With a Nebula and a Korg? An Odin? I am so confused. If you have an Odin here, wild. No, a leader. Okay. We lose our Attuma. Oh, that's not great, but I think it is manageable. Yeah, it's definitely manageable. All right, so all we have to do, they can move a 6-power Jeff over. We can do something like this. This hedges all of our bets. I think we're perfectly fine here. I kind of want to snap into it, but I also don't want to scare them off and make them maybe rethink their plays. Ooh, they didn't play it into the left lane. Interesting enough. Okay. So what is this here? The Doctor Doom. Okay. So they're going with the wide path. That's perfectly fine. We are okay with the Doctor Doom. And the Doctor Doom is something that is coming up a lot in popularity, or it has been for a while. And especially with Spider-Man being as common as he is right now, it's all over the place. Like it's almost a necessity if you're facing a lot of Spider-Man control decks, like a Spider-Man, a Storm, to be able to get that little bit of extra reach if you can't burst enough power early enough. And so we will take the 2 cubes, and that is where we're going to go ahead and end the video. We're able to fare pretty well against just about every deck that we're seeing right now, whether that be bounce, whether that be a wave kind of control style deck. High evolutionary decks that are running the control version can be a little bit more difficult. We can stop a lot of their like on reveal affliction with our Cosmo. We can often outpower a lot of what they can do with some of our stronger plays. so that we can spread out across the board. We're going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.